Friends across Asia and around the world, welcome to International Bach Fest Malaysia 2025. My name is David Chin. I am the founder and artistic director of Bach Fest Malaysia. This year, our festival theme is Bridging Bach because Bach's music is a bridge that connects people, cultures, and faiths spanning from Bach's time to ours. We are bringing together artists and scholars from across 10 countries with a program featuring two of Bach's monumental masterpieces. In addition, we have performances, exhibitions, lectures, forum, and the very first Southeast Asia Bach competition. We can't wait to welcome friends across Asia and around the world to be part of this historic celebration. Please come join us and let's connect through Bach's timeless music here in Kuala Lumpur. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Southeast Asia Bach competition finalist announcement. My name is David Chin. I am the founder and artistic director of Bachfest Malaysia. And we are very excited because today this is the first event of the International Bachfest Malaysia 2025. Our theme this year is Bridging Bach. So, seeing Bach as a bridge, because the motto of Bachfest Malaysia for the past 10 years has been connecting people through quality music. And this year in the International Bachfest Malaysia 2025, we have a series of exciting programs lined up. We have the complete performance of Bach's Goldberg Variations, which is the Mount Everest of Bach's keyboard works, and we have, of course, a solo violin recital performed by our concertmaster Bernice Uy. And we will also have two performances of Johann Sebastian Bach's St. Matthew Passion. It is Bach's largest works, written for two orchestras and two choirs with a soloist. And we are very honored. We will have tenor Daniel Johansson joining us in July. And there will also be a very special jazz concert inspired by Bach's work. So arrangements of Bach's works performed by the WVZ Jazz Ensemble, the prominent jazz ensemble of Malaysia. And of course, one of the most exciting elements in this International Bachfest Malaysia is the first Southeast Asia Bach competition final round concert. And the reason that we are organizing this Southeast Asia Bach competition is because we truly would like to find out if there are wonderful Bach musicians in Southeast Asia whom we have not discovered. And through this result, we know that there are many that we haven't yet discovered. So this is a wonderful opportunity. And many people ask me why we are doing this Southeast Asia Bach competition, not a Bach competition or an international competition in Malaysia. Why Southeast Asia? And my answer is very simple, because in most of the international competition, we often see on the final stage people from greater countries in Asia, for example, China, Japan, and Korea, and they are wonderful, many wonderful musicians, but we rarely see Southeast Asian musicians on the final stage. So my hope is that through this competition, we can give the young Southeast Asian musicians an opportunity, obviously, to shine, to show that they are also at a high level. And I'm very grateful for my dear friend, Professor Dr. Michel Mall. He's the artistic director of Bachfest Leipzig. And for this competition and the festival, Bachfest Leipzig is our honorary patron. And what they're doing is basically in the final round, Professor Dr. Michael Mao, he will be selecting 3 winners. And they will have an opportunity to perform a solo recital in International Bachfest Leipzig 2026. So since we are talking about these awards, so please allow me to go through what awards we will have for this competition. So first of all, if you make it to the final round, all finalists, you will be traveling to Kuala Lumpur to perform in this final round concert, and you will receive a finalist award of 1,000 ringgit Malaysia as a finalist. Now, if you are in your category, so we have 3 categories. We have vocal, we have piano, and we have strings. So each category will have one first prize winner, and this first prize winner will receive a 5,000 ringgit Malaysia cash prize. And then we will have the grand prize. This grand prize, again, is the opportunity to travel to Germany, Leipzig, to perform in the International Bachfest Leipzig. And this grand prize is different from the first prize winner. So the grand prize winner could be maybe one pianist, one vocalist, one strings, player, or it could be three pianists, or it could be two vocalists and one pianist in any order, any combination. And this is completely up to Dr. Michel Mao, because he is the artistic director and he get to choose which musicians will be best to perform in Bachfest Leipzig. So even if you are winning the first prize, it doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically will perform in Germany. So we hope that that's clear. Yeah, so 3 first prize winners and then 3 grand prize winners, and they are not necessarily the same people. Now, I want to express my sincerest and deepest gratitude for all our judges, especially the first round judges. They are with us here today in this announcement. And the first one, I'm honored to introduce Ms. Hilda Huang. She is now based both in the United States and Amsterdam, and she is a distinguished pianist and harpsichord player, and she already launched her international career when she was 18, winning the first prize in the Leipzig Bach competition. And since her debut in Leipzig in the Gewandhaus, she has performed at prestigious festivals like the Leipzig Bach Festival and the Montreal Bach Festivals, and she has received highly critical and wonderful reviews by newspapers and magazines. And she is very good in playing both the historical and the modern instruments. And she has collaborated also with renowned artists from around the world. And she is also a United States Fulbright scholar, so to the Netherlands. And she has won multiple awards, competition awards. So, for example, a US Presidential Scholar in the Arts and the Astro Auditions. And she's now teaching at the Zwilling Academy, focusing on musician formation. And she's completing her doctoral of musical arts at Juilliard School. And she's also a Steinway artist, playing a lot of Bach, and also writing a dissertation on exploring keyboard counterpoints. And she's now in Amsterdam, continuing her innovative projects in sacred music and performance. So thank you, Ms. Hilda Huang, and welcome to Bachfest Malaysia. The second judge for the first round I would like to introduce is a renowned countertenor who is now in Leipzig, and his name is David Aller. And if you have seen this all of Bach videos, you often will see his face, especially the B minor mass performance, for example, with the Netherlands Bach Society. So I have met David a few years ago. He is just a wonderful human being, a wonderful friend, and he is a highly sought after concert soloist and Baroque specialist across Europe. And he frequently collaborates with renowned conductors such as Philip Herreweghe, Ton Koopman, Lawrence Cummings, and people like this. And Mr. Aller has performed with esteemed ensembles, including the Collegium Marianum Prague, and also Musica Ficta, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Netherlands Bach Societies and the Weser Renaissance Bremen. And he is a frequent guest soloist with the renowned group Amarcord and also Singapore. And his solo CDs, which released in the past few years, includes Psalms and Hymns of the Central German Baroque and Christmas at the Frelinghausen. He has contributed to over 100 CD releases, notably the Heinrich Schütz complete recordings and the vocal work of Johann Kuhnau. And by the way, David Aller is also a Kuhnau specialist. His musicological work is as great as his performance. So I hope if you have not listen to his singing, you should look him up. And in addition to his singing career, Mr. Aller is also an editor, as I mentioned earlier. So he has recorded a complete vocal work of Johann Kuhnau. And so this is a very big and ambitious project, and I have been in some of their concerts of the CD release. It's just magnificent. So David, thank you so much for being with us. Last but not least, I would like to introduce you a fellow Malaysian musician, Mr. Ibrahim Aziz, who is now based in the United Kingdom. He is specializing in performance of Renaissance, of Baroque, and contemporary music for the viola da gamba, an instrument that was not even known to Malaysians maybe 10 years, 20 years ago. But now he is making such huge awareness with his reputation internationally. So we are so proud for him as a Malaysian, but also for all the contributions that he's bringing to our country and beyond. So Mr. Aziz has recorded for first-hand records as a solo artist and for BIS, Signum Classic, and several other labels with various early music ensembles such as the Shelleys and the Rose Consort of Viols. Ibrahim's playing has been praised by many mainstream and specialist music magazines such as The Gramophone, the BBC Music Magazine, The Independent in United Kingdom, and the Volkskrant, and The Star in Malaysia, and the American Record Guide. So he is a native of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and he's now based in London, where he makes a career as a Baroque music performer and educator. And he has worked with many distinguished musicians and played in prestigious festival and concert venues worldwide. So, Ibi, thank you so much for joining us. It is such an honor to have you with us. So, now I will turn this to judges. We have seen all these video submissions. The way, those of you who are joining us for the first time who are not participating in this competition, we have 2 rounds in this competition. The first round is all video submission and is reviewed by these 3 judges. So the strings videos were reviewed by Mr. Aziz, and the piano videos were reviewed by Ms. Huang, and the vocal videos were reviewed by Mr. Erla. And so they have selected finalists. We will announce in just a second, but before we announce the result, we should hear from them what they have watched and how do they feel about all the submissions and our musicians in Southeast Asia. So maybe we start with Mr. Ibrahim Aziz. He's closest to us. He's a Malaysian, although now he's in London. So share with us, what have you seen and what do you feel?
Thank you very much, David. It's a great honor for me to be on the panel for the very first round. And I've really enjoyed watching the videos that were presented to me. So I'm judging the strings category, which are basically divided into the cello category and also the violin category. And really and honestly, I have been really impressed by what I saw and what I heard. And I would like to really thank the candidates for their hard work in preparing for the submissions, not only just playing the music, performing the music, but also getting the video and the filming organized, which I know takes a lot of time and effort and work. So well done, and thank you so much. So David has suggested that I give a couple of general comments about the overall the submissions. So I think because there are 2 categories, I don't know what you think, David. Maybe I should say something about the cello category, and then I'll go on to the violin category, because there may be 1 or 2 things which are the same, but interestingly, there are things which are rather the opposite from both categories. So to begin with, the thing that is the same for me is, I don't know whether this is a good way of going about it. Maybe I should give the slight negative aspect of it first, and then you hear the good thing. And the the slightly negative aspect of this, and please don't get me wrong at all, it's more of a personal thing for me, being a Baroque specialist playing on period instruments and gut strings and reading from original notation and that kind of thing. I'm not exactly a purist, but I work on period instruments. So this aspect, one of a slightly disappointing thing for me is that I didn't see a single entry that used at least a Baroque bow when you're playing a Bach sonata or a Bach suite. And I think this is something that you might like to think about, because having a Baroque bow will be a life changer. It makes performing Bach a lot less hard work for modern string players, because the Baroque bow is a tool that will do the phrasing, the shaping, the articulation that you need for this music automatically. So when you have a painter doing a landscape or a wonderful painting, he doesn't do everything with one thick brush. He doesn't paint all the trees, the skies, the little details with one brush. He has a special brush for all the little detail and the nuances for the picture. And it's a kind of the same thing for a string player. If you use one for everything, it's going to make life a little bit harder for you. Now, I know this may be something that to think about for the future, then maybe if you're serious about playing Bach or Baroque music, it's something that worth thinking about.
Well, I'm going to interrupt a little bit here because, the Malaysia Bach Festival Singers and Orchestra, we are not a period instruments ensemble, but we try, of course, to perform in style. But our musicians, our string musicians, usually would use a Baroque bow because that's maybe the easiest way to get into the world, because you maybe don't have a Baroque violin or Baroque cello, but it's accessible to get a bow.
It is. And it's these days, it's not difficult to get a Baroque bow. Go online, Google, and you'll see where the nearest Baroque bow is to you. And you may find that it's actually not that far away. So, and if you have a teacher, get advice from them on acquiring a Baroque bow, or just trying a Baroque bow from someone who has one. It makes a difference. So that's just that's a general comment for everybody. Although one of the candidates for one movement, interestingly, did experiment with holding the bow slightly further up the stick, and but didn't do this for the other movements. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Why is it only for that movement and not the other movements? But I think kudos to you for trying. So I was for a moment there, I thought, oh wow, okay, so this person is experimenting. And experimenting is really, I think, a good thing for when you're starting to play this sort of music. Listening to various recordings. So I don't know if you do this, but to get ideas on phrasing, on shaping, especially if you don't play a historical instrument, it's useful to just go on iTunes, go on YouTube, see and hear how it's done, how Bach is played. So to go on to shall I go on to the cello category now? So just a general comment is that it's all very, very high standard, and it makes choosing the finalists who to pick a very difficult job, because in a competition like this, everyone is at a high level. So one general comment for the cello is that performances that I saw tended to get better towards the end. So when you're performing, when you're there on the stage, you've got to make an impression immediately and maintain this energy throughout the performance. But some performances will have immediately a beautiful sound or something, but to actually have that energy and presence is a very important thing. And for a lot of the submissions, it was there, but only especially towards the end. It's what we say, warming into the performance. As you play, you get more and more into it. But you need to think about how to have this immediately in your performance. One other thing is that for the cello suites, they are suites, meaning that they're a collection of dances, slightly different for the partitas and the sonatas for the solo violin. The sonatas are just movements, and the partitas are dances. So they are like the cello suites. But when you're playing dance movements, that's a very important aspect in Baroque performance. You need to think and have a clear idea what an allemande is, what is a sarabande, and how do you play this dance and make it sound like a dance. You know what you. So if you've written a group note and label allemande, and it's worth asking, why does he call it an allemande? And what makes it an allemande? What makes it a courante? And how can I make this? Now, that's the first layer, because when you're playing Bach, there are always various layers. Expression, the character of the music, and then the type of music. Is it an aria? Is it a dance? Is it a fugue? Is it contrapuntal? Is it 2 or 3 lines? Then you need to think about all this. So some of the performances are just slightly wanting in this aspect of the fact that the music you're playing is dance music. So I was looking for that. And going a little bit deeper, and this also is one thing that applies to both categories, is phrasing. Phrasing is important because it is like speech, and music from this era is akin to speech. In fact, I think it applies to all music. It's what makes it understandable to the listener. So the way you phrase music and the way you judge the timing between the phrases, how many groups how many notes will make a group that contains in a phrase. You need to decide this, and you need to have very good judgment on the timing of each phrase. That's also something that I was listening out for, and some candidates were more successful than others in phrasing this music. So going on to the violin category, so this is the opposite thing to the cello category, in that strangely and interestingly, the energy levels kind of dropped as we progressed through the performance. And that's because of the 2 movements that were given. It was a slow, serious opening followed by a fugue. Now, the fugue is a test. It's a real test of stamina and technique. And unfortunately, for some of the performances, this was the thing that let you down. It's the A minor fugue is a marathon, and you've got to think about the pacing of it. How are you going to tackle this music and get to the end without giving the impression that you've run out of steam? So it's how you open the opening line, you play the opening lines, and what you do in the middle and what you do at the end. Give the impression that all the time you have this energy that I described earlier. The submissions showed wonderful adagios. Then when you get to the fugue, there were technical issues, there were pacing, there were phrasing. And well, like I said earlier about the different types of pieces, dances, song-like pieces, fugue is in a different category altogether, because it's something that is possibly a little bit more intellectual. In the 17th century and 16th century, fugues were called ricercares, and ricercar means to search. Because often in a piece of contrapuntal music like this, there are hidden things. There are maybe hidden messages, but there are also hidden layers. So when you play just on one instrument, you've got to be able to deliver all these different layers that are hidden in the music clearly to the listener. So that's something that is a challenge indeed. But you're playing Bach, so on top of that, you've got all this technique to consider as well for the G minor and A minor
It's
sonata.
very
But
interesting that you mentioned about the lines and these things, which I think also applied in singing and in piano playing. But with singing, maybe there's a little bit more element because we have the text, and we have so maybe yet another level of this interpretation, but also with what EB have mentioned, with his dance and all that. So maybe David, you can tell us a little bit about what you have heard in the vocal category. Um,
Yeah, of course. I can say the same as Ibrahim. I'm ready to be on the path, and a huge pleasure to listen all and to videos, and I really appreciate everyone who decided to learn Bach's music, and even more who learned to sing the difficult Baroque German language. I know it's really hard, and yeah, especially for people from Asia who are not common to the German language and even the Baroque German language, which is sometimes difficult for us Germans as well. So yeah, kudos to all of you who managed to do this. I was very moved and touched seeing all of the singers giving all their heart and soul to this very German, but also very universal music of J.S. Bach. And all of you have made a huge effort in managing Bach's style, and I really appreciated that. And yeah, yes, as Ibrahim said, text is crucial. Phrasing is speech, and speech is text, and all belongs together. And in singing, you have this text, and it's really crucial to know what you are singing. There were some differences in the between the candidates. We've had a very high standard altogether. Some of you really really understood every word or every phrase, and it's really touching to listen to this and to hear this and to experience this even in a video. Yeah, which I have to emphasize as well. It's a huge effort for you, all of you, to make these videos and to get a pianist for accompanying, and yeah, it's great to see and to listen to all of this. Yeah, it all belongs and it all depends on the text in Bach, and that might be maybe the only real hint for me. Start with the text, learn the text, see what every single word is really meaning. How many different layers do these words have? Are there different meanings of single words, and how do they really make a phrase in the end? And then I'm very sure you will get even more into Bach and his music and into these texts.
Yeah, I remember one time my music teacher told me in university, he said something like, you have to play. He was my piano professor, but he said, when you sing German and when you play this music, you have to play it in a way that you are as if you are the native speaker. When you're on stage, and
That's right. Yeah.
it's not easy. Like you say, even for German. But I'm curious also. So from the musical point of view, and I mean the text is absolutely important, and thank you, Ibrahim and David for pointing that out. But musically speaking, for a singer, especially for young singers, that we see many young singers in the video submissions, what are some of the advice you can give them? So they're navigating through a wide range of repertoire in their studies. So maybe some of these people, they are also singing some bel canto music by, I don't know, Rossini, Donizetti, and things like this, or maybe Puccini, maybe too young for them. They're also singing Mozart. So when it comes to Bach, what are some of the tricks or some of the things that they should be aware of when they sing music like this, especially in the Baroque era?
Yeah, there's several things. I think the first thing, as I mentioned, is text, text, text. You need the text. You need to understand the words, and yeah, the text is more important than the singing, than the voice itself. You have to transport the message of this very piece you're singing. By the way, it's very hard to pick one aria out of one cantata or one passion, and to get the effect just immediately without having what comes before in the whole composition. So I really appreciate that that all the singers tried to get into the affect without having the surrounding of the whole piece. Yeah, the text, and I think it's very important to know that vibrato is kind of a stylistic device. You can use it, but you can also try to avoid it just for stylistic things. It's more like a ornamentation thing, the vibrato. So you have to really use it. You really have to decide when to use it. That's maybe another thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of vibrato, we can't do vibrato on the keyboard. We can
Lucky you.
make vibrato. We can do it on the strings instruments. We can do it on voice, but we can't do it on the piano. And speaking of piano, is a modern instrument. Obviously, we know that Bach might already have some sort of knowledge and access to the Cristofori piano towards the last chapter of his life, but and that was also the time when he wrote the Goldberg variations and all these final keyboard works. But so how do we go about playing Bach on a modern day piano, right? I mean, they were mostly written for organ, they were written for harpsichord, but to play on a piano, and I can't think of another person that has more experience to talk to us about this. So maybe Hilda, I mean, you have played Bach also on the harpsichord, I know, and on the modern instrument. So tell us a little bit about this, and maybe also what you have heard from our participants for this competition.
Sure, I want to first thank David for having me. Sorry, my voice, I was just coughing a little bit, so excuse me about that. But I want to thank David for having me on this. It's a real pleasure to listen to everybody's submissions. And I often say that when I was in the Bach competition in Leipzig, half of the pleasure was just getting to sit through all the other competitors' performances, both in the piano category and the harpsichord category. So to hear this is great. This is my happy music. First, to answer David's question, I think the most important thing to remember is that music is music, and whichever tool you use to make it, whether that's your own voice or something outside of yourself, like a keyboard instrument, basically the foundation of expression and communication remains the same. And so I'm always interested in understanding what the different keyboard instruments have in common and how we utilize their mechanisms to convey basically the same message. And one of the things I've learned over the years is that, sort of like in singing, there tends to be a consonant and then the vowel portion of a tone. And on different keyboard instruments, either one of these aspects is more pronounced. And on the harpsichord, you get much more immediacy in the pluck of the string. Something like organ, obviously, there's more emphasis on the sustenance of the tone. And piano is a very interesting middle ground because we have an extremely resonant instrument that also pronounces very well. And we have the added dimension of variable touch. So putting all these things together, I think an awareness of your touch, how it relates to the attack of the note, and how quickly you're able to respond to the placement of that attack in time with the resonance and the rest of the note, is at least key for me to playing Bach on the modern piano. I enjoyed listening to all these videos. I would like to share that some of the things I listened for were an awareness of the relationship between harmony and meter and counterpoint and harmony. Those were the things that really intrigued me. also as a musician. So I really listened a lot for that. I listened a lot for the relationship between articulation and shaping, because on keyboard instruments, we really have to use articulation in order to manage the resonance of the instrument. And that's the best way, at least to me, to shape both on the harpsichord and the piano. I would call it playing into the resonance of the instrument. And that is, I think, one of the greatest tools that a harpsichordist has with a really great instrument is to manage the resonance of the instrument. And as pianists, we can really learn from that, because often we lean on the pedal, but there's actually so much we can do just with our fingertips. And because the Steinway is such a resonant instrument, I actually find that making the most use of that before we add on the pedal is a very powerful way of taking advantage of the instrument. I would say the last thing that I listened for, because the repertoire was a prelude and fugue and then some dance suites, was an awareness and a usage of the metrical structure of the pieces. And I listened for that by variable dynamics or touch or color, especially with the placement of different harmonies on the strong and weak beats of the measure.
I mean, I feel like today is not just announcing the competition result, but we are really in a masterclass with all these masters. I mean, you have provided such helpful comments for all the musicians. I'm also learning so much from hearing you. So I'm wondering, any other additions to your comments before we move on to the next items on our agenda today? Yes, Mr. Aziz, please.
I think what Ms. Hilda Swan has just pointed out, the dynamic range on the string instrument when you're playing Bach, even though it may not be obvious on the page or even notated on the music, doesn't mean that you play in one dynamic range, which none of you did. But I was also looking for a very wide range, dynamic range that you use in your performance. When you play music that doesn't have any dynamics, it doesn't mean that you don't do any dynamics.
I mean, this is such an important point. You know, in growing up, we always hear, like, when you do Baroque music, it should always be very stern and not so much big dynamics. Like you play Haydn and Mozart, there's forte, there's piano, but there's no marking, you know, in Baroque music. So people always tend to play them like the same and quite, to be honest, quite boring. And to me, I'm also more interested in, you know, with dynamic range and yeah.
And usually the stronger end is no problem. But going pianissimo, that is something that is not often heard and used. So the quieter end is also very important and very special. Don't forget the piano and the pianissimo.
Yeah, it's not the loud thing that is impressive. I mean, we have attended concerts. Sometimes the most pianissimo moments are what like really catch us and really move us. I mean, David, you and I, we have talked about something about, you know, it's difficult to pick, you know, some singers with more personality or some singers with more accuracy, or, I mean, what are we looking for, you know, in a performance, you know? I mean, obviously that's very personal, but personal taste and quite subjective. But for singers of Bach's music, do you think personality is important? What is your take on this?
I think the soul is the most important thing. You have to. Everybody can produce notes or can produce any music, but you have to give your soul into the music, and you have to try to find the emotion of the piece and try to adopt this to your own emotion and try to bring this together, and then finding the soul of the music and the soul of Bach, who was a believer. He wrote sacred music, so you have to dive into this into these themes as well. So yes, I'm looking for the soul of the people.
Yeah, great. Well, any last words to add from the three of you? Well, if not, now we move to the announcement of the finalists for the piano category, which I will invite once again Ms. Hilda Huang to announce the finalists, and then we will watch a little bit of their video submissions before we move to the announcement of the vocal category. So
Sure.
please.
So in no particular order, we'd like to congratulate Hoi Shun Yin from Malaysia, Evandrew Konan from Indonesia, and Chai Zixing from Malaysia.
So congratulations once again to all the finalists in the piano category. And now we move on to the vocal category, and I would like to invite once again Mr. David Aller to announce the finalists.
Yes, it's a great pleasure for me. The finalists for the vocal category of the Southeast Asia Bach Competition 2025 are He Yi Jing, Lara Tan, Sherry Su, and Okawa Tan. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the singers. And now we move on to the announcement for the finalists of the strings category. Please, Mr. Ibrahim Aziz.
Thank you, David. The finalists for the string category of the Southeast Asia Bach Competition 2025 are Chow Tong Chow, Singapore, Sinjo Yap, Malaysia, and Andrew Ng Wen Hao, Malaysia. Congratulations to all of you.
On behalf of all our judges and Bachfest Malaysia, I would like to congratulate all our finalists, and we are really looking forward to hearing you in the final round in Kuala Lumpur during the International Bachfest Malaysia 2025. And to all our participants who didn't make it to the final round, please know that your talents are well noticed. And honestly, we really wish that we could select more finalists, but then our final round concert will take days. But that's how competition works. And I cannot tell you how many times I apply to competitions and auditions and I never get selected personally. And because competitions and auditions, they're very tricky. You do not know who are submitting applications with you and who are applying together with you, and you don't know the level of the participants. For example, in 1 year, you might have 50 very good musicians participating in the same category with you, and then another year, maybe there are only 3 or 4. So I want you to know that this is by no means, our shortlist is by no means saying that you are not good enough musicians or you cannot play Bach, or I hope you don't feel this way, and you shouldn't, because from the comments of just for me personally, I know very well that even people who didn't make it to the final round, and you are great musicians, and you definitely have potentials to keep playing and keep singing Bach. So I hope that you take that to the heart. And we want you to continue, and we highly encourage you to continue pursue the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, because I believe more now than ever that Bach's music really has this very special power that will reunite us, and also to express the deepest meaning of humanity. So the final round of the Southeast Asia Bach competition will be part of the International Bachfest Malaysia 2025, and it will take place on Friday, July 25th in Kuala Lumpur. And we would like to invite all of you to come join us in Kuala Lumpur for this Bach Festival. Again, we have a series of wonderful program lined up for you. And let me quickly tell you the judges for the final round. And of course, the first one is Professor Dr. Michael Mall from Bachfest Leipzig. He also plays the violin, and he is also a musicology, and he will be the person who will be selecting 3 winners to perform in International Bachfest Leipzig 2026. And we have tenor Mr. Daniel Johansen. He is one of the sought-after Bachers in Bach today. He will Malaysia performing Johann Sebastian Bach's St. Matthew Passion, but he will also be serving on the panel of judges. And we will have renowned Malaysian pianist Mr. Ng Chong Lim, who will also be playing the Goldberg Variation at the festival, and he will also be one of the judges. And then we have Mr. Harish Shankar, and he's a Malaysian, but now he is making a wonderful conducting career in Germany. And not only will he be serving as the judge, in the panel in the final competition, but he will also be conducting the orchestra who will accompany all the singers in the final round. And of course, I will be also joining them in making the decisions for the winners in this competition. So for those of you who made it to the final round, once again, congratulations. And our colleague will be in touch with you soon about the details. And now, before we go, let us quickly look at this highlight of International Bachfest Malaysia 2025. There is no better time and reason to visit Kuala Lumpur. Today, I would like to share with you the program we have curated for International Bachfest Malaysia 2025. The festival will feature some of Bach's greatest musical Mount Everests. The first is the St. Matthew Passion, Bach's largest and most profound work, written for double choir, double orchestra, and numerous vocal and instrumental soloists. The St. Matthew Passion tells one of the most well-known stories in human history, exploring themes of betrayal and loyalty, anger and silence, lies and conscience, fear and hope, darkness and light, all of which make this deeply relevant today. We are beyond thrilled to welcome world-renowned Viennese tenor Daniel Johansen, an award-winning Bach specialist whose expressive and insightful interpretations have captivated audiences worldwide. His artistry in the role of the evangelist alongside the Malaysia Bach Festival singers and orchestra will be a true highlight of the festival. If you were to ask pianists around the world to pick one keyboard work that represents Johann Sebastian Bach, most would agree that it is none other than the Goldberg Variations. This is one of the most challenging and profound compositions ever written for the keyboard. We are delighted to have the acclaimed Malaysian pianist Ng Chong Lim perform this masterpiece for the first time in public, a performance that you don't want to miss. We will also journey to Bach's curtain years, a period when he composed some of his most virtuosic instrumental music. Our concert master, Bernice Uy, a tenured violinist at the Royal Swedish Opera, will present 2 of Bach's solo violin partitas, works that are considered among the most masterful and expressive compositions for solo violin in history. A major highlight of the festival is the inaugural Southeast Asia Bach competition final round concert. Generally speaking, in most of the international competitions, contestants from Southeast Asia are rarely seen. My hope is that through Bachfest Malaysia, we will discover and promote young talents from the region. Up to 3 winners will receive the incredible opportunity to perform at Bachfest Leipzig 2026, bringing Southeast Asian talents to the international stage. You will have the chance to watch and cheer for these rising stars during the final round concerts at the festival. Additionally, we will host 2 evenings of dinner and jazz featuring the WVC Malaysian Jazz Ensemble led by the nation's celebrated jazz pianist Tay Che Siang. This performance will explore the thrilling intersections between Bach's music and jazz improvisations. An important topic we will explore during the festival is Bach in Asia. A series of thought-provoking forums and lectures will discuss the theme. Professor Dr. Michelle Mall will lead a forum featuring distinguished panelists from Malaysia, China, and the Philippines. We are also privileged to welcome Dr. Alex Zheng from Zhejiang University, who will give a special lecture on Bach's relevance today. Additionally, Bishop Thomas Lowe will offer a unique perspective on Christ's passion through the eyes of Matthew. This festival is more than just concerts. It is an opportunity to connect, to discover, to grow, and to rejuvenate through the timeless music of Bach. Our festival venues are surrounded by rich cultural heritage, diverse traditions, stunning architecture, and world-class cuisine. We are delighted to invite you to the International Bachfest Malaysia 2025, where we will celebrate the exciting variety of jazz Bach music in Kuala Lumpur, the vibrant capital of Malaysia. Thank you once again for joining us, friends throughout Malaysia and around the world. And once again, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to our judges for being here with us today and have given us such a great masterclass in addition to announcing the result. So friends around the world, we look forward to having you in International Bachfest Malaysia 2025 from July 23rd to 27 in Kuala Lumpur. From all of us in Bachfest Malaysia, we wish you a wonderful day and a good night to our fellow Malaysians. Thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.